welcome to R.K Medicos. In this section, we are going to discuss about a new subject basically, that is the embryology. And in embryology, we are going to discuss in this part the basics embryology. In the basic embryology, we are going to discuss first of all, we are going to discuss what are the definition of embryology. What does it mean? The embryology is basically means it is the science of biology. It is the study of science in which we are going to discuss about the formation of our gametes or the sex cells, or we can say like this, the formation of gametes or the fertilization or the development of our fetus or the different parts. Or we can also see in this underlying activities there are branches of biology that deals with the study of the prenatal development of the gametes or the sex cells, and there are also the fertilization and the development of embryos and the fetus. These all are included basically inside the embryological studies. So we are going to discuss one by one what is the development of gametes, how the gametes gets developed, how the fertilization is happened, how the fetus gets developed, and how the embryo is formed. So these all are discussing in these topics in the embryology. We are going to see in details each and every topic about it. So this is about embryology. Next point, we are going to see about how the sex cells or the gametes are formed. Now you can see, before we are going to discuss everything about the gametogenesis, we have to know three terms. There is a pre-embryonic condition before the embryonic period, that is called as pre-embryonic, and after that they are the post-embryonic, and they are also called as fetal period. So we can see there are three terms. Suppose that this is the embryonic period, before it pre-embryonic period, and what is this? This is the embryonic period. And after the embryonic period, what is it? They are called as fetal period. So these are the three periods basically, they are classified in the embryology. We can see in the pre-embryonic period, what is the period of time or what is the period of weeks we are counting during the pregnancy. The weeks basically we are counting is called as gestational age in the pregnancy, and gestational age is starting from after fertilization, how the embryo is getting developed or the development is starting till the birth. This whole time period is called as gestational age. In the mother fetus, how many the lifespan of that child or the fetus is present in the mother's fetus. We can see in the embryonic period, they are basically 3 to 8 weeks of the fetus lifespan, and before the 3, what is it, 0 to 2 weeks in what, pre-embryonic condition, 3 to 8 weeks in the embryonic condition, and after that the 9 to till birth. These all are the weeks are counted in fetal period. So these all are the three main criteria of the general embryology we are going to study, in which we are going to first classify them in the three different parts, that is the pre-embryonic, embryonic, and the fetal part. Now we are going to say what happened in the pre-embryonic period. In the pre-embryonic period, before the pre-embryonic period, the something is formed, that is for the embryogenesis studies. First we are going to study about the gametes. In the male, there is a male gametes, they are forming in the testis, and in the female, they are the female gametes, they are forming in our ovaries of the female. So we are going to discuss one by one how it gets formed. So in this section, we are going to discuss is the formation of gonads first. Where the gonads are formed. The gonads are formed and they are produced by the epiblast cells. We can see here. We can see in this section the gonads, the primordial germ cells. Primordial germ cells are the cells which is produced by the epiblast. Epiblast, from where these terms are come. In the second part, we are going to discuss about the second week of development of the embryo. So in that section, we are capable to know about the epiblast, hypoblast, or the syncytotrophoblast or the trophoblast or cytotrophoblast. Everything will be discussed there. So for now, we have to memorize it. The epiblast is the layer of it. Hypoblast and epiblast, they are from this, the primordial germ cells are begins to start, or they gets formed, and after that these primordial germ cells are migrate to the yolk sac till the 4th week. They're starting from the 2nd week and they migrate at the time of fourth week. After that, they again migrate from yolk sac to the gonads of the male gonads. They are present in the testis. They are the male gonads, and the female gonads will be the ovaries. So they are transported in which week of the life? That is the fifth week. Next point we are going to see teratoma term. Teratoma is basically the tumor of something, the tumor of all the germs layer. What are the germs layers are present in our human body? That is ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. These all are the germ layers. There is any tumor in that germ layers. What are the germ layers? These germ layers having any tumor. All these three germ layers are basically for in our body for the synthesis of whole body or for the generation of whole body. So there is a tumor in any place in our body. So that terms is representing by them the teratoma. Basically they are produces in the germ cells, primordial germ cells tumor, and they are occurs in all the germ layers, and the germ layers are producing whole body. You know from them ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. These all are producing the different parts of our body. For these terms, the teratoma, we are going to discuss two clinical presentation. The first one is, suppose that this migration is occurred from the epiblast to the yolk sac to the gonads. There is any abnormalities in their transformation or any abnormalities in their migration. They have to migrate somewhere in the gonads, but they migrate in the different places of the body. It leads to the something develop in our body. That one is called as teratoma. Basically it is due to the different abnormal migration. We can see there is an abnormal migration of primordial germ cells in the head and neck region. When these primordial germ cells are migrated in our head and neck region, they forming a big tumor. That one is called as craniopharyngeal teratoma. Same as, once again same, there is an abnormal of migration of the primordial germ cells in the sacrococcygeal region. In behind of our in the back, in the buttock region, there is a sacrum and coccyx bones are present in that region. These tumors are get migrated by the primordial germ cells. They are called as sacrococcygeal teratoma. In the primary, they are called as when they are transmitted or migrated in the region of where the cranium and pharynx, they are called as craniopharyngeal teratoma. So these are the two clinical presentations from the teratoma or the primordial germ cells. It happens in our, if there is any abnormalities, if there is any abnormal migration of these primordial germ cells. So next point we are going to see the sacrococcygeal teratoma is basically happen due to two reasons. One is, either one of them is the abnormal migration of what? Abnormal migration of primordial germ cells, and one is the persistent of primitive stroke or the primitive streak. In the primitive streak we are going to discuss in the next lecture about the embryology, but for now you have to memorize it. Their persistence of primitive streak is also leads to the there is a formation of sacrococcygeal teratoma. We can see here these are the primordial germ cells. We can see these are the primordial germ cells, and these primordial germ cells are going to be transferred in this region. In the next picture we can see these primordial germ cells are here, and they gets transferred in that area, and they forming the genital region. From there the gonads are formed, and they transfer into the primordial germ, into the gonal region, gonads region. So the primordial germ cells are transferred to the genital region. In next section we are going to see how the craniopharyngeal teratoma, I already told you, in the neck region they are formed a big tumor. That one is craniopharyngeal teratoma, and the teratoma means the simple tumor of the germinal layers or the germ layers. Same here, it is the neck region. This is the neck region. In the neck region there is a whole tumor structure is developed in embryonic condition. They are called as craniopharyngeal teratoma. In next section we are going to see about the terminology, several terminologies. What are them? There is a totipotent, pluripotent, multipotent, unipotent, like this terminologies are here. We can see the first one. The totipotent means the single cell is having capacity to develop in a whole organism, or the whole embryo or the embryonic tissues, extra embryonic tissues will be developed from the single cell. The single cell is potent to develop a new organism. That cells are called as the totipotent cells. In this section we can see here the ability to form the entire embryo or the extra embryonic tissues. That cells are called as the totipotent cells. And the cell stages in our human life, when the begins the 8 cell up to the 8 cell stages, these all are called as the totipotent cells. When the out of 8, all of these 8 cells, one cell, single cell have a capacity, even the all the 7 cells are gets disintegrated, the one cell have a capacity to develop the embryo or the extra embryonic tissues. So these all cells are called as totipotent. Next one, they are called as pluripotent cells. They have ability to form all the germinal layers. The pluripotent cells is forming the all the germ layers. And what is cell is it? Primordial germ cells, already discussed above. Multipotent cells, they are the cells, they have ability to produce more than one category of cells. The multipotent cells have a capacity, they develop the two different categories of cells. Suppose that the hematopoietic stem cells are producing the two different category cells, like the one is producing myeloid line and second one is lymphoid line. The myeloid line and lymphoid line, myeloid line producing RBCs, WBCs like this, and the lymphoid are the lymphocytes basically. So these are the, we can see also here, hematopoietic stem cells give rise to the different types of blood cells. They are called as myeloid and lymphoid line. So these are the terms basically about it. What are the more than one categories? Next point, we can see oligopotent cells. In the oligopotent cells, we can see there is a form only one category of cells, but their action performed by the different manner. We can see the vascular stem cells. They are basically forming the blood vessels, in which there are the several types of cells are present. Some cells are repairing them, some cells are building them, forming them, some cells are going to remodel the blood vessels. So these all are the same type of blood vessels or the same category blood vessels. Next point, we can see unipotent cells. The unipotent cells are forms only one type of cell. Basically in the liver cells or the hepatocyte cells, these are the unipotent cells. They are gets divided in a only one type of cell. So they are the unipotent cells. So these are the different types of cells. In next way, we are going to see in the fourth part of this section, general, is our several differences between the mitosis and meiosis. You have to memorize it from here. We can see it. Before we are going to discuss about it, we can see the mitosis is basically occur in the somatic cells of our body. Somatic cells is what the cells we see from the outside. These cells are the somatic cells from your body, and all these cells are the somatic cells are all body cells. And this mitosis is the process which help in this division of these cells. So all the body cells, somatic cells, are gets reproduced by, or they are gets increased in number by the mitosis or meiosis. Of course, mitosis. Next point, we can see how many the chromosomes is present in the parent is same number of chromosome is transferred to their daughter cells, that is 46. So it is the same number. So it is like equation. That's why they are called as equational division. They are called as equational division. There is no crossing over which occurs in this type of cells. There is no crossing over which occurs in the somatic cells. There is no any crossing over. So these cells have no crossing over. That's why their daughter cells are showing resemblance. Their daughter cells are showing similar features with their parent cells. We can see here the daughter cells showing resemblance to their parent cells. It is true. Hope it will be understanding for you. But for now, you have to memorize it. All the mitosis is occur in our somatic part only, and the meiosis is occurs in the something different. It means, so we can see what is the difference in the meiosis section. In the meiosis, we can see they are the reductional division. Why it is reductional? In the parents, there is a 46 chromosome, but in the daughter 23, they gets transferred in the either son or either daughter. It will be transferred only 23 chromosome. It means that somehow it gets reduced from 46 to 23. It will leads to the reductional division. It means they are reductional. But in the mitosis, that the same amount of chromosome number will be transferred to their daughter cells. 46. That is somatic cells. And in the germinal cells or the sex cells, they gets reduced their number. That is haploid number 23. One set of chromosome is coming into their daughter. We can see they are occur in the germ cells or the sex cells only. It happens in the germ cells or the sex cells. The crossing over takes place. The crossing over takes place in these type of cells. The sex cells or the germ cells having crossing over is taking place. It means the daughters are not showing any resemblance to the parents, because there is something, some fragments are changing. Suppose that this one is the one chromosome segment and this is the one chromosome segment. These are the two sets of chromosome. There is something which gets exchanged in between them. Some parts is coming this chromosome in that part and this chromosome having that part. These both are gets connected and they get fragment exchanges is occur here. These fragments exchange will leads to the character difference from their parents. So there is a resemblance of parents is do not happening. The meiosis takes place twice, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2 in the gametogenesis process, because we are going to forming the gametes here. In next point we can see the meiosis 1 each having several phases, that is PMAT. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. You know from childhood. What is it? The phases of meiosis. That is PMAT. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. In the meiosis 1, the prophase is having several phases. That one is called as, we can see leptotin, zygotin, pectin, diplotin. And we have to memorize it. The diplotin is called as resting phase. Why diplotin is called as resting phase in the gametogenesis? Because in that phase, the meiosis is gets arrested. In the female, basically in the oogenesis or the oogonia formation. So you can see about it later. For now, we have to memorize it. The diplotin is having resting phase. Pectin having recombination is occurs or the crossing over is takes place in the pectin stage. And the zygotin is having synaptonymal complex formation. It is the special point here. The zygotin is having synaptonymal complex formation and the leptotin. These are the stages of prophase. We have to know about it. Next point is oogenesis is basically begins with in intrauterine life, and intrauterine life, hope you know about it. It means simple, the any development of the fetus in the uterus of female. It is basically representing as intrauterine life. In the mother fetus, the any developing embryo is called as intrauterine. Simple. It begins, the oogenesis begins at that time. At the what weeks we are going to see now. From the beginning we discuss the primordial germ cells are start to migrate. They are first of all they are produced by the epiblast cells. After that they gets migrate into the yolk sac and then gonads by the 5th week. So same we can see here, the primordial germ cells are present, they are in our ovary at the end of the 5th week in the during the development. And after the 5th week, what is going on? From the 5th week to till 3rd month, from the 5th week to 3rd month, it means the approx 12 weeks. What is happening? All the primordial germ cells, what is present in our ovary, each gets converted into the oogonium. Next step, all the oogonium is converted into primary oocyte till or by the week or the month of 5th to 7th month. By the end of 5th to 7th month, in between them, all the oogonium are converted into primary oocyte. After the primary oocyte formation, they enters, the primary oocyte gets enter into the meiosis first, and in the prophase of meiosis first stage, there is having different stages in the prophase. So in the basically that one there is a diplotin stage or the phase of the prophase first. They are also called as resting phase. I already told you previously. This is also called as which stage? Resting stage or the resting phase. And these stages are gets arrested in the embryonic period or the intrauterine life. It's happen during our intrauterine life, and after the attaining of the puberty by this child, what the child is developing inside the mother fetus. After the birth, the child attains maturity after some time, and it leads to the after maturity, this primary oocyte after maturity or the puberty, these primary oocytes are gets converted into secondary oocytes, or there is a completion of meiosis 1 basically. And there is a formation of also a small polar body that is called as first polar body. It is synthesized during the synthesis of secondary oocyte. The polar body is basically, it is the forming due to the unequal separation or the unequal division of cytoplasm. What the cytoplasm is present in our primary oocyte, it gets divided into two parts. One is in the secondary oocyte, another one is in the polar body, that is the smaller cells. We can see like this. Suppose that this is the primary oocyte. This is get divided into two cells, that is the secondary oocyte, and one is polar body, that is smaller one. And what the cytoplasm is contained by this primary oocyte is all cytoplasm is present in the secondary oocyte, and the cytoplasm is totally absent in what? Polar bodies. So this polar body is called as first polar body. The first polar body is having no cytoplasm, and the polar body gets degenerated after some time. Next point we can see, in the unequal division of cytoplasm, it leads to cytoplasm. There is a polar body, it means a cell division without cytoplasm. Basically simple, polar body formation with without cytoplasm. You have to know about it. It's very important here when the secondary oocyte is formed after the completion of meiosis 1. In next section we are going to see what happened to these secondary oocytes. We can see here these secondary oocytes enters into meiosis 2. After the completion of meiosis 1, meiosis 2 is starts, and what cells are enters into meiosis 2? This is question basically. Okay, what cells are enters into meiosis 2 during the oogenesis? That is the secondary oocyte, and they complete prophase and metaphase of their cell cycle of the meiosis 2. Meiosis 2 is basically having prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Same, that is P2, M2, like this. Prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase, telophase 2. Same, we can see here, after the completion of prophase and metaphase, these cells, the secondary oocytes, gets arrested in the metaphagic arrest, and these arresting cells of the secondary oocytes arrested for the 24 hours. It's depend on what the sperm is enters in the female genital tract or not. The sperm is present for the fertilization or not. When the sperm is present for the fertilization, they are waiting for the sperm. When the sperm is present, the completion of secondary meiosis or the meiosis 2 gets completed, and the ovum is formed, or the second polar body. With the second polar body, the second polar body is formed at the end of what second meiosis is completed. When the second meiosis is completed, the second polar body and what ovum is formed. And when the sperm is not present, if this sperm is not present, basically what happened? This secondary oocyte is arrested in prophase and metaphase stage of the second meiosis, gets converted into corpus luteum. And this corpus luteum basically persist for the 14 days after the without a sperm present. They convert into corpus luteum, they are present for the 14 days, and after the 14 days they get shrinking in the shape and size. It gets degenerates and dissociate, and after the 3 to 4 days of that degeneration or shrinking, they gets prior to menstrual phase. During the menstrual phase they gets out, and they forming a corpus albicans in that area, and that is the white scar lesions in that area. So this is all about the oogenesis. In next point we can see here what are the most important points we have to memorize in this oogenesis. We are going to see here what are the points we have to memorize. You can see the numbers of follicles. What are the number of follicles are formed in the IUL is basically here intrauterine life. We can see IUL, the maximum at 20 weeks. 20 weeks it means there is maximum synthesis at the fifth month basically, and we can see there are 6 to 7 millions in the number, but at the time of birth their number will be reduced or decreased. These follicles gets degenerated as the time passes, and they are only left as 1 to 2 millions. After the attaining of puberty by this child, they gets their number of follicles from 1 to 2 millions, they get reduced up to 4 to 5 lakhs. And in the whole lifespan of any female, the only 500 it is a hypothetical not hypothetical, we can say it is a practical value for the any female. There is only 500 follicles are mature in the entire lifetime or the lifespan of the any reproductive female. What the female is reproductive, they have capability to fertile and they produce a child. So at this stage of any female, only 500 for mature follicles are gets degenerated due to their reproductive age. But if there is any one of the follicles is gets released from the ovary, and these follicles are each and every month each one follicle is degenerating or released by them. Along this one follicle, there are thousands of follicles are also participated, and they wants to come outside, but they all gets degenerated in same way. Only one can come outside, and that one is forming the mature follicles. After that, they're waiting for the sperm. When the sperm is not present, they are forming the corpus albicans or the luteum. And when the sperm is present, they get completion of meiosis 2 and forming the ovum and secondary polar body. Secondary polar body is only forms after the fertilization. Hope you will be understand. Now next point we are going to see in this section. This point is also now the thousands of follicles undergo atresia, means degenerate or the damage each and every month of the menstrual cycle. Next point we can see the first polar body is released when the ovulation is happened, and the second polar body is formed when the fertilization is happened. Already told you, when the sperm is present, the second polar body is formed. Oogenesis having some special points. The oogenesis begins in when intrauterine life, it is true, IUL, and the ova is the largest cell in our body, that is having diameter or the cell shape is 120 micron. Next point we can see the size of resting follicle. When the follicle is in resting stage, there is 0.02 millimeter. The size of follicle just before the ovulation is 18 to 20 millimeter, and the fertilization span of any ovum is 12 to 24 hours. They wait for the sperm. After that, they are converted into corpus. We can see here corpus luteum. This is all you have to memorize. Next point we can see spermatogenesis, the synthesis of sperm or the spermatozoa. We can see here the once again primordial germ cells were in the gonads, and the gonads in the male is testis. During the 5th week of the development of spermatogenesis, they are gets arrested, and till puberty these all steps are gets stopped in the, and they wait for the puberty of any child in the male. And after the attaining the puberty, these all are, before the attaining the puberty, these all are in dormant phase. These all the primordial germ cells in our testis in the dormant phase, or they are temporarily absent, or sorry, temporarily stopped, not absent. And after the attaining the puberty, what happened? These primordial germ cells are giving something and form a spermatogonium. These primordial germ cells are converted into a spermatogonium after the puberty only. Not it's happened before the puberty, it's happened only after the puberty. There is some hormonal changes are participated in this spermatogonium formation. We are not going to discuss here. This is a part of the obstetrics, so we are not going to discuss here, or the gynecology. In next section we can see this spermatogonium is converted into primary spermatocyte. So from the spermatogonium, and the synthesis of primary spermatocyte is by the different cycles of division is present here. There are basically several cycles. There are 5 to 7 in number. We don't know exactly, but it's experimentally proved. There are 5 to 7 cycles of division which happen in the spermatogonium, and this synthesis of what? Primary oocyte. Suppose that the spermatogonium is going to produce primary spermatocyte by the mitosis, and they forming one spermatogonium is producing 2 primary spermatocyte. It means one spermatocytes, we are going to see one spermatocytes, or the primary spermatocytes is what produced. What is the production of primary spermatocytes? These primary spermatocytes having, they enters in meiosis 1. They going to enter in the meiosis 1, and they forming secondary spermatocytes. They are two in number. The one primary spermatocytes enter into meiosis 1 and forming two spermatocytes. After that, these secondary spermatocytes are enter into the meiosis 2 and they forming the spermatid. And after the spermatid formation, there is no any cellular any division is not happening here. No mitosis, no meiosis. There is only a process called as spermiogenesis, which leads to the synthesis of spermatozoa. Spermiogenesis is nothing, it is the arrangement of cellular organelles or the cell organelles inside the sperm, different parts of the sperm. Suppose that in the head, in the middle piece, in the neck or head and middle piece or the tail part of the sperm, there is an arrangement of different cellular components in its different parts of the sperm basically. So we are going to see the primary spermatocytes giving two spermatocytes secondary, and after the secondary spermatocytes they giving only one and one spermatid. After that the one spermatid giving two spermatozoa. So basically we can say like this, the one spermatocyte, we can say like this, the one spermatocyte giving four spermatozoa, or we can also say like this, there is two spermatid. We can also say like this, they are giving two secondary spermatocyte. So these all are same. These all are produced by the primary spermatocytes. We are going to see in detail how these cells are formed and what are the main role of the synthesis of these cells here. What we are going to do for this, we have to know about it. The one spermatocytes is producing two spermatids, two secondary primary spermatocytes and the four spermatozoa. Spermatozoa is also called as sperm. These are also called as the sperm. Now you can see here, there is any polar body synthesis in the spermatogenesis? Of course no. Polar body synthesis is only happened in what? Oogonium or the oogenesis. So there is no polar body synthesis in the males in the spermatogenesis process. Spermiogenesis, what is it? I already told you, there is an arrangement of cellular organelles in the sperm. There is a formation of tail of the sperm, agrosomal caps formation, or the shedding of excess cytoplasm. When the cytoplasm is excess in amount inside the sperm, it gets shedding or it gets destroyed. It we can see, suppose that this is the sperm. Suppose that this is the sperm head. After that this is his middle piece, and suppose that this is the tail of the sperm. So we can tell, we can say here is the region, there is a acrosomal cap is present on the head, and this is the middle piece, this is the tail and this is the head, this is the middle piece. Some cellular structure is present in the acrosomal cap. Some cellular components are present in the head, some cellular components are present in the middle piece, some cellular structures are present in the tail. Suppose that what structures are present in the tail? Tail is motile. They are help in the movement of the what? Help in movement of the sperm. They are through this tail, the sperm gets motile. Suppose that what is present in the tail? There is centriole. It means it is filament and microtubules. These two structure providing the motility to the sperm. Next point we can say, in the middle piece what structure is present, in the head what structure is present, in the acrosomal cup what structure is present. We are going to see later in this phase. In acrosomal cap, suppose that Golgi bodies is present. In the middle piece we are going to see mitochondria is present. The different structures are present in that region of the sperm. So we are going to discuss later about it. Now you tell me, spermiogenesis means the arrangement of organelles inside the sperm. We can see next point, the one primary spermatocyte giving how many spermatozoa? 4. It is true. And how many spermatid? 2. One primary spermatogonium is producing how many sperm? They are 64 to 512. How it's happened? We can see. I already told you the spermatogonium is this one. They are going to produce two spermatocytes from one. The one spermatogonium producing two primary spermatocytes, and one primary spermatocytes producing how many sperm? They are 4, and this one producing how many sperm? 4. Suppose that this cycle will happen is approximately, we can tell like this, 7. It means there is a how many primary sets? We can see there is a 7 and 7. And what is the 7 production? 7 into 4, 28, we can say. And we can also going to here the 7 into 4. They all are 56. Again we can say like this. These cycles will be around up. We are going to see about 8. 8 into 4. 8 into 4. What is it? 32. 32. So it will be round of 64. These cycles are basically in the region of, maybe they are the 8 cycles per division. It not fixed the 5 or 7 or 6 cycles. It is basically supported the 8 cycles. Then what is the number of one spermatogonium is producing how many sperm or how many spermatozoa? The spermatozoa number will be like multiplied with 4. Inside it, the each spermatocytes will be produced by them, and the number will be 64 to till how many cycles is happening. You know how to calculate, because one is primary spermatocytes producing 4 spermatozoa, the 4 sperm, so you can multiply it. Or we can also learn from here how many cycles is running in between the spermatogonium and primary spermatocyte formation. That is the multiplication of, and that leads to formation of the number of spermatozoa. In next section, how the sequence is arranged by the formation of spermatozoa. We can see here is the primordial germ cells. Primordial germ cells are the moving in our gonads in which week? 5th week. We can say 5th week. What happened after it? We can see these primordial germ cells are forming a spermatogonium, and after the spermatogonium formation they are forming spermatocytes, primary or secondary, and they forming a spermatid and then a spermatozoa or a sperm. This is the sequence, and this sequence are important. We have to memorize it from the top to bottom, from the 5th week to till the reproductive age of animal. Next point, we can see what is the difference between the spermatogenesis and oogenesis. We can see here spermatogenesis and oogenesis. The onset of in the what phases these cycles are representing, that they are in puberty. Spermatogenesis is happened only in puberty, and oogenesis in the intrauterine life, IUL. And the polar body is present in spermatogenesis, bilkul not nahi hota. And in the polar body is present in oogenesis, yes, it is present. Gonads are primary. In the gonads, primary spermatocytes producing how many spermatozoa? 4. But in the female, one primary spermatocytes producing only 1 ovum. You have to memorize these points also, because it's important. Wait a minute, let me clean it. In next section we are going to see about it, the one-liners in gametogenesis. What is one-liner? They are important points here. The spermatogenesis completes in 74 days. Basically in the some books this is the recent updates, that 74 days. In older books there is also mentioned the 64 days or the 60 days. So when the option is not available in the 74 days, then the option will be 64 days is more correct. When it's present, then it will be the 74 will be the most recent answer. Next we can see the luteinizing surge or the luteinizing hormone. It is the prior to 36 hours of the ovulation, their surge will be occur in our body. So we are going to calculate the surge of before the 36 hours. We see some sticks, or we can say like the luteinizing hormone strips are available in the market. We are using them for the checking how many before hours we have to go for the ovulation or the ovulate. So the LHPG is another luteinizing hormone check, it will be abolitionary before the 12 hours before the ovulation. We can check it before the 12 hours before the ovulation. There is a LH surge or peak. Like a peak is happening. It means the highest level of LH is present in the 12 hours before the ovulation, and the 36 hours before the ovulation there is a luteinizing hormone surge. It will start to increase in the amount. Next we can see the fertile period of female. The most fertile period is 3 days. The 2 days before the ovulation, when the female is ovulating, 2 days before the female is more fertile, and the 1 days after the ovulation. So these are the most important point here. In the males, the meiosis is happening or not in spermatogenesis? Yes. The spermatogenesis occurs in seminiferous tubules of the testis. And the sperm maturation is where happen in testis? No. The sperm maturation and motility is performed inside the epididymis. The caudal part of the epididymis. There is several parts. Caput corpus. And the capacitation of sperm is basically, it means the removal of acrosomal caps from the head of the sperm, and they enters into female genital tract and moves freely, and they are viable. Their life is up to 7 hours after the capacitation performed by the sperm, and they are conditioning of the sperm for the movement inside the female tract. So these are the also important points here. Next point we are going to see about some important points about the spermatogenesis. We are going to see. We can see spermatogenesis is the synthesis of sperm from spermatogonia, from the initial stage, from the primordial germ cells, spermatogonia, and then spermatogonia, primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocytes, and then spermatid and sperm. Spermiogenesis is basically synthesis from the spermatid to sperm. It is simple. Next important point is the spermatogenesis is happen in puberty stage. Next point we can see the primary spermatocytes is producing 4 sperm. It is true. We already discussed. One primary spermatogonium producing how many? 16 primary spermatocytes. It is also true. We already discussed. One spermatogonium is producing how many sperm? That is 64, because one primary spermatogonium producing 4. It means 16 into 4. And the time taken for spermatogenesis is 72 to 74. Basically 74 days here. You have to write 74 days. Next point, the average number of sperm which produces per day, that is 100 millions per day sperm is produced in our body. Per day 100 millions of sperm is produced. Next point we can say spermatogenesis, that is the transformation of spermatid into sperm, that is called as spermiogenesis, not spermatogenesis. It is the spermiogenesis. It is the conversion of spermatid into sperm, and there is no any mitosis or meiosis is happen. I already told you there is no any division is occur, and the time taken is 12 to 14 days. 12 to 14 days it takes in the spermiogenesis process. How many days it taken in the spermatogenesis process? It will be like 74 days. Next point, what are the parts of a sperm? Is inside the sperm they are invaded during the spermiogenesis. Already told you. In the head, what is invaded? That is nuclear material. In the head, nuclear material is situated. In the acrosomal cap, there is a Golgi bodies. In the middle piece, there is a mitochondria. In the tail, there is a microtubules and centrioles. We can say like this. This is the head. This is the middle piece, and this is the suppose that tail region. We can select this. This is the head. Inside the head, what is the structure is present? Nuclear material. Inside the middle piece, what is the structure is present? That is mitochondria. We can say like this. This is the mitochondria. In the tail region, what structure is present? There is a microtubules plus centrioles. Centriole, the arrangement in their filament will be 9 plus 2. It is also important here. And acrosomal cap is here. We can select this. This is the acrosomal cap. Inside it, there is a Golgi bodies is present. These questions are important. Where the Golgi bodies are present in a sperm? Acrosomal cap. Head, what is the nuclear material? So we have to memorize these locations also. where the mitochondria is located in middle piece. Something is absent in the sperm, that is rough endoplasmic reticulum is absent in the sperm. There is endoplasmic reticulum is basically, especially rough endoplasmic reticulum is absent. Sperm length will be 55 micron. Fertilizable span of the sperm will be 2 days to 4 days. They are able to fertilize the ovum. The sperm attains motility and maturity in the epididymis, not in the testis and their caudal end. And the gene for the motility of a sperm is responsible for, that is called as Caspar gene. Caspar gene is responsible for the motility of the sperm, and the ion which is responsible for the motility of a sperm will be the calcium. And the sperm remains motile in the female genital tract up to 12 hours. The sperm gets motile, and the time taken for a sperm to reach the ampulla of the fallopian tube is 30 minutes, just 30 minutes. So these are the points you have to memorize from the spermatogenesis. This is all about the first part of embryology. In the next part, we are going to discuss about the fertilization. Now we just discuss about the gametes, male and the female gametes, how they form, what are the main points regarding them. And in first part, we are also going to discuss about this, how this embryogenesis is starting. In the second part, we are going to see just fertilization, and after that second part we discuss about the third part in which the development is started. So thank you, good luck, see you next video, bye bye.